What up, everybody? Welcome back to round 5 of Supercross Technical Analysis. Happy to be back with you again this week with the MyPITBOARD squad, Tyler and Ev. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we're super excited to get into the first Triple Crown series of the year. What a crazy race! Craig getting friggin' absolutely blown off his bike, tripping on the way back. Wow, what a crazy time. I know Tyler's got some good stories about Freeze, so maybe we can get that quick little story from him if you want to share it. I don't know. But anyways, go with it. Go ahead with the intros. I'm Kibby. I'm the founder of MyPITBOARD, and I'm just the data guy, and I'll let those two take it away.
Yeah, I'm Av. I'm the brand specialist and pro motocross racer in Canada.
Yeah, I'm Tyler Medaglia, and yeah, we're stoked to be back and do look over some more good racing.
Okay, well, now that we got that over with, let's get right into the track details. What did you guys think about the track this week? And
Yeah, I think the start was definitely like surprising element. Well, not surprising, but it was very different from what we typically see. Having the whole pack divided in two just makes for very different racing when it comes down to the first corner. You have people going from like so far right to so far left, and there's a big gap in the middle, and you could see the people outside. It goes from being so wide to so tight that the people on the outside would get squeezed off right away. So I think that was definitely an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, I think the track was huge. It's awesome when they in the stadium they have so much room, and that extra back section that they have is excellent. So you get those, you know, over a minute lap times, and with those three races, the boys had a lot of racing to do, and that huge massive rhythm section was cool, and obviously the sand. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I love the sand in Supercross, especially when they do it right. Like that was how it was done right. Big sweeping 180. I think it was a little bit sketchy before the tunnel, but I mean, other than that, it was sweet.
yeah, so I definitely thought when I didn't really look at the track map before watching the races, and I was like, oh, holy shit! There's that tunnel jump right in the middle, which was so weird to see. But it definitely made for some cool racing. So let's get into the first motos. What was your guys' takeaway? I can't remember what was our top three picks going into the week. Definitely thought Jason Anderson was. I think all three of us thought Jason Anderson was going to take the win. He did show that aggression, was able to pass people like it was nobody's business, which was super impressive to watch. But guys like Roxon showed some speed, and Tomac was just phenomenal. So let's get into it. What did you guys think? Moto One.
Well, I think that's the story of the whole event was Tomac really. It's hard to like really keep track of everything that happened because there was so much. They were on the track so many times, like Anderson kind of getting squirrely and landing on the tough block kind of screwed his race over. Sexton had one really bad one where he ran into Webb maybe and fell and then made another mistake. And he said even in the press conference he said that it was a disaster. So there was Tomac was just so consistent and crazy how good his starts were. Like that was huge. I think that's and I think even Ferrandis needs to look at that and see that there's like a silver lining, with his starts. Tomac is on the same bike, so there's no reason why he can't start ripping hole shots like that too.
Yeah, for sure. I think Tomac was the star of the weekend. I also think we need to give kudos to Malcolm Stewart. Mookie, he hasn't done like that good in a long time. He was just always super close yesterday, and he was pretty consistent through it all. We saw a bunch of guys falling down and stuff, but Mookie was there the whole time, and he came out with a second overall with this triple crown, and I don't think we've seen that in a long time. So, yeah.
His bike looked good too, so that's another thing moving forward for that new chassis on the KTM. But at the same time, he's a big boy, and the other like the KTM guys of the side of things, those go like Webb and Plessinger and Marvin. They're all pretty small guys, so that could be something to look at moving forward.
Yeah, that was something with Mookie we've noticed in the past. He was super consistent. I think every race he's placed P5, all the way up to this race. And so where Triple Crown consistency is key, and he definitely had that. So I feel like Mookie's been flying under the weather, even though he's been getting like P5 week in and week out, and not getting enough recognition. So cool to see him actually pull something off here, and it's really neat. But let's just take a quick look at the data and see what we got here. Um, so pretty much, obviously, Tomac was the fastest guy, breaking away super quick in the early laps after getting that hole shot, which was absolutely surprising from him. But one thing we noticed looking at the data, actually, and you'll see it on the mypitboard.com website, and we'll add it up on VitalMX as well, is that whoever has the fastest average, so based on their finishing order, whoever has that the fastest average lap time in that order, like that's how they'll end up position wise. So it's kind of neat to see that play out. But again, we'll add that in the next video for next weekend's breakdown. But it's a pretty cool thing. So yeah, nothing crazy here. 1 minute lap times. Tomac was blistering fast at the beginning, and then Mookie and Anderson had to come through the pack a little bit. But is there anything you guys wanted to add in there?
Well, just going off of what you said there with the average lap times, I know that when working on things, my dad always analyzed all the lap times from all the nationals, and he would say that the first 4 laps of the race you have to sprint, and this is outdoors, but I mean it's kind of all relevant. But the first 4 laps you have to sprint at the fastest qualifying ish lap time, and then drop it down 2 seconds and manage the race, and that data usually usually the winner, that's what they do. So Tomac getting those 2 really quick lap times right off the bat, and then just managing where he could and he looked good. Like you see him in the air, relaxed, move it, keeping the front end low in the air, not tagging stuff. He just opened up that small gap with that start, and then he just punished them, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, those first few laps are so important because if you manage to get yourself a bit of a gap, then you can more take it, more comfortable for their whole race because you have a bit of a cushion to rely on. You don't have to go over your comfort zone, and you don't have to risk making mistakes and stuff. So that's kind of what Tomac did yesterday. You can see with that first lap, he took 2 seconds off at those guys just in the first lap, which means he was able to take it a bit slower for the rest of the moto. Well, not slower, but more comfortable for the rest of the moto. And you can see it because his lap times are not always the fastest in those laps. So sometimes he was taking it maybe a bit more easy. And it also helps a bunch going through the lappers because when you have someone right behind you going through lappers and stuff, you get so nervous trying to make stupid moves, and that's when mistakes happen. Whereas when you have a bit more of a cushion, you realize that you can take a bit more time and be more relaxed with your passing.
Yeah, those first couple of laps are super critical, and you can see based on this chart here. So I think Kenny started second in the first moto, but was able to break away at least 2 to 3 seconds from Kenny, even there, which gave him that cushion. So, but getting it, what did you guys think about Ken Roczen? I mean, he had the speed. He was clearly one of the faster guys, but what's up with him?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't really notice him much during the race, so it's hard for me to really pinpoint what I saw. But yeah, I thought he would. He was a high up there for a likelihood of winning on these type of races. They're shorter, and typically his starts are really, really good. But yeah, it's hopefully they get whatever they're working on sorted here soon, and he can start clicking off back like the normal Ken Roczen. But he's probably looking forward to some more of these Triple Crowns, though.
Yeah, for sure. I feel all through the night, he wasn't far off, but he was always whenever he was battling for position, it wasn't for the top position. He was battling for, let's say, 4th, 5th, or 3rd, but it was never he was never actively passing and getting past for first. He was always like a bit more behind, and I feel like that's very unfamiliar of Ken, because usually he's always, more of like a front runner. So that was definitely interesting, and hopefully, like you said, he can fix whatever's going on and be the rider he usually is.
Yeah. So into the second moto, Tomac got another great start, and then Anderson was up there as well. Do you guys? It's hard when there's three motos to remember exactly what happened in each moto
Yeah.
to talk about it, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult. But do you guys like in the second moto? What was some of the major points there that happened?
Well, the main thing was how shocked I was that Tomac got the start again. You know what I mean? Like, it was like one thing for him to nail a whole shot, and then to follow it up in the second moto was just like unbelievable. I was like, man, I should have picked Tomac in fantasy, but yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, again, like you said, it's tricky to remember what race was there. I don't know. I'm not sure if this was the one that Anderson landed on the tough block or not.
Yeah, it was. I'm
I
just
think
looking
it
at
is,
the
yeah.
data. Yeah, look
Yeah,
at the data and you can
because
see it.
he was rolling in that race too. So I was kind of following that narrative and seeing how far up he was going to keep going, and yeah, and then again, Mookie was on point. Like, it was nice to see him up front. I'm hoping that this gives him the confidence to do it in a regular main event, because he looked good, he looked strong, the bike looked great, and yeah, I think moving forward, this should boost his confidence.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was a weird mistake on Anderson's part, and it made for it kind of ruined his night a bit. He did get back up, but it's precious times. It's precious time that you lose when you fall down and during those triple crown races, because they're so much shorter than the usual ones, that the impact they have is much bigger. But for sure, Eli really showed his dominance again, and like I said, like you said, Tyler, I was super surprised about his start again, because it's very untypical of of Eli to get a good start, let alone two in a row. But yeah, like you said, Kibby, it all gets a bit blurred out, but it was great racing for sure.
I think even his starts, it was more evident in the third moto when he didn't get the best of jump. But like that Yamaha is so fast, and he's such a big boy that he's able to get that traction down such a long straightaway where he was able to recover and still come out like in the top five out of the first corner. So,
And he made mention to that too, like how stoked he is on the bike and how fast it is. So it's like, and with a huge start like that, that's key, right?
so sorry. With that being said, we kind of said last week that is there a new big three in town, and I feel like this is only reaffirming that that Tomac was already part of the original big three, but Anderson and Sexton are also up in that mix, and then obviously Mookie is there lurking to take over a podium here and there, as he's been super consistent. So, are you guys still surprised with Anderson being that good 5 races in?
No. After like this, after the third round of that type of riding, you're for real. So he's going to be a threat all year. He just needs to minimize those. Like, he does ride a little bit on the edge compared to the other guys, so he's going to have to minimize mistakes. But I mean, he should just keep riding the way he is. It's he's going to get it. He's going to keep getting it done. But and yeah, and Sexton obviously with that last race was, putting his hat back in the ring again. I mean, like, that's kind of going back to that first race when it was kind of a nightmare for him. It's like, yeah, you gotta clean it up, but he's still 22, and then he fought, with that third moto where he wins, it kind of makes it all back up again.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I just want to go into the data here quickly. Like, Anderson was blistering fast in that last moto. It was insane.
Yeah.
Like, look at that. He just got better throughout the race, which is crazy. And you saw that too. Yeah, just phenomenal for him. Never Never really expected that. I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add on that.
Yeah, for sure. Like the lap times, those are just super, super impressive. And like that's it's almost a second a lap, which on a supercross track and with those guys, it's quite substantial and it's very impressive. You can see like Eli, his lap times, they stayed a bit more constant. It does go up and down a bit, but the graphic is very spread out. But so I think it stayed a bit more consistent, and he kind of let off at the end. But Anderson, like he got faster for the most part as the race went on, and he did put some fire laps in. That's just impressive. But it's also cool to see that, Mookie, he's right there. Like he's not he's not apart from the graph. He's not too far. He's right there with those guys. And I think that was super awesome to see, for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
and it was a small whoop section too. So with Mookie's riding, it's not just about how fast he can go in the whoops now. He's got the whole track dialed almost to the point where it's like his whoop speed is, isn't even really as good as it has been in the past. So
yeah, that's the
could be
one thing
something to do with the bike.
Yeah, it's one thing I've noticed. Usually he's ridiculously fast in the whoops, and he just looks pretty subpar this year in comparison. I don't know what that might be, but what did you guys think about? So what's going on with Webb, and also too, just the last finishing topic. So Webb and Barsha, those two are battling pretty close together. Barsha seems to be doing his typical thing where he comes out blazing in the beginning of the year. Then it's not like he's struggling; he still looks super fast, but just kind of losing that podium contention. It seems like it's a result of his start. But so let's talk about Barsha and Webb quickly, and we'll wrap this up. So, what do you guys think quickly on those two?
Well, with Barsha, I think for the first few rounds, I think he can. I think it's more of a mental thing. Like he can block out the nerves, and like there's some people just have that right amount of brain shut off, so you can just turn. You know what I mean? Like you can come into things more relaxed and kind of, you already kind of know what to expect, and then you just let it go. So I think that's more of a mental side thing for him. So just because it's been repeated for the last like however many years, at least 5 years, right? So there's that, and then Webb, yeah, he just doesn't have the speed. He just doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't have the speed. He's not. I don't think he can knife that bike underneath all the ruts like he previously did, and they're throwing everything at him. He mentioned that they're really working hard on the bike and making big swings here and there. So I don't know if what Mookie's got going on over there can translate to Webb and the smaller guys from the KTM squad, but yeah, they are almost panic mode to get this thing back on the tracks.
Yeah, and I think you can see that it's definitely a bike thing that comes into it for those KTM guys, because it's not just one of them, it's all three of them that are just not on pace this year. And I think the difference between Barsha and Webb is Barsha, he's always been kind of like a, not the first group, but very close rider. He's always had the speed to be very close, but like doesn't often get like a top three or win. Whereas Webb came in with the number one, and he was expected by everyone to win, and it's just not happening. And he's so far from it that I think it's got to be playing in his head as well as the bike, but also just the fact that he has a number one and can barely have a top. Like I don't think he's made a top three so far this year. I can't
Well,
remember,
besides
but
he got second at the first round, but
okay, yeah. Well, other than that, that's still four more rounds where he didn't get a top three. So when you have that number one on the bike, it's quite the pressure, and it must be quite draining to not be able to do what you can do, or not simply not have the speed.
yeah, they're definitely probably frustrated. I mean, I know that you can see them. You see footage of Roger and Ian. They're around the bike with him, discussing things. So they're working on it. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
What do you
I just
think?
wonder if it's like if what Mookie's got can translate to those guys, because Mookie looks great and he's
Yeah.
been consistent. So it's just a question there of I think that is probably pretty tricky with the size difference of the riders. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you, and that's like Tomac, right? Like when Webb was on the Yamaha, had a harder time. It was a bigger bike, right? And then Tomac really fits that bike a lot better and can manhandle it a little bit more. Whereas, same with Mookie, similar situation. But let's get into so what do you think goes on as a manufacturer? Like KTM, you had, they were dominating for so long and, their bike was really good. And then now they changed a lot of the chassis design for this year, trying to make it better, but end up taking 2 steps back before moving any forward. Is that because, as an OEM, do you think that they were so ahead of the game in terms of their motorcycle technology in the earlier parts of 2018, even before that, where all these other manufacturers are catching up, which is forcing them to make more radical changes in the bike? I really want to know what the mindset is behind KTM right now. What caused them to actually make this change to begin with, and what did they think was going to result in it? What do you guys? It's a crazy thing because the manufacturers are catching up now, right? Like Honda has a friggin' stellar bike this year. Yamaha's bike's been improving year over year, and Cowie's getting better. But KTM,
KTM is not complacent, right? Like they're always trying to make things better. They usually make a couple of year change, chassis change, engine change. They have a thing where they have, when their orange frames come out, that means that's the last year of that gen of model. And yeah, I think they're trying to make a bike that works better everywhere and continue to keep selling an insane amount of them. It's just whether or not they can get the dialed in for Supercross. I mean, yeah, they take what the R&D, has to offer, and then all the testing. They've been testing this bike for a long, long time. Webb has ridden it. He rode it in 2019, apparently. So they're not going to put it out if it's not better. So it's just a matter of them sorting it out for Supercross racing. From what I know about the bike and the R&D, the bike is a lot better. So yeah, I think it's just them figuring it out.
Yeah, for sure. The testing must have been, a bit different maybe this time around than they usually do. I'm not really sure how that, translated to be, but I'm excited to see what it'll look like on a motocross track because we're seeing that it's pretty difficult to adjust and set up on a supercross track. But we also know that those type of racing is super different. So, will it be better on a motocross track? Will they run into the same issues? I think that's mainly the question now. But I definitely think they'd be in a bit of a panic mode because everywhere on social media and on TV, you can hear people talking about how much KTM and the KTM riders are struggling on their bike. So you have all that publicity going around. So as KTM, you have to be kind of worried about the impact it's going to have. But hopefully, that bike is better from motocross and it's just going to fix that all. But I think some adjustments are definitely going to be made for the future.
It's definitely a better bike. They got all the, even like the stuff that comes on at standard, like the quick shift and stuff. They're advancing the game, and that's what they've continued to do. And yeah, it's just a matter of time and getting them to shake it out for racing. I think for sure they're going to be ahead of the game come outdoors because it definitely looks like a more stable bike.
Well, I don't know.
To the other chassis.
Have they upgraded is the gas running the same chassis, the new one? Because you're on the new gas now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on the new gas, and it's the same as last year.
Okay.
Yeah, and Barsha's on the last year's bike too.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Interesting. Well, we'll have to see how it plays out. So let's just we'll cap it here. Top 3 predictions for next week.
Oh, I'm with Tomac starts. He's dangerous. So I'm going Tomac, and I'm hoping Mookie gets another podium.
I'm gonna go Tomac, Anderson, and Sexton.
Tomac, Anderson, Sexton. Okay. I'm going to do Tomac, Anderson, and I think Ferrandis is going to pull off a podium sooner or later, and he's been showing a lot of speed. So hopefully he gets his start style. I'm saying Ferrandis third. So, okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us this week. Please go check out those other charts that we're going to post on mypitboard.com and VitalMX. And please check out our YouTube, subscribe, and please let us know if you have any questions or feedback. And thanks for tuning in for this week. And thank you guys so much.
Bye, guys.